Hey folks, and welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Hopefully all the audio is coming through and stuff. Been having lots of problems with that over the past couple of days, but sick again. Don't know why. I mean, germs, obviously, but where did I get them? Why did they get me again? Don't know that. We are taking a slight departure from the normal programming today because I was talking with a friend. Yeah, so now my what we're doing here is incorrect. Let me fix this real fast. Instead of saying Rails testing with Eventide, we are checking the composite video thingy for an error. Maybe a flaw in the design, and I'm not happy about that, but let's see if we can fix it. So what we were noticing was he was working on a component that was operating in a similar way, and he was hitting a strange expected version error, and where he would have been hitting it would be in his equivalent of the device video component. So I'm going to pop that open real quick to have a look at our handlers here. So in our event handlers, the equivalent is where it would have happened. So I think, where do we actually do the fetching? It's right here, line 42, where we do the fetch. Okay, so this handler will do the projection and fetch the device video from the message store, because that's what components do. And then time is passing. We get to the fetch here. And if I remember correctly, because it's been longer than 6 minutes, we have this sleep in here to simulate excuse me, this taking a long time, because it's pretending to be that we're retrieving the video from a cellularly connected camera out in the wild, and that could take a while. So I'm going to bump this up to 30. And here is the problem. So we are fetching the device video. Now let's open the command handler. And when someone sends in something, a request to retrieve it, I believe that's our only command that we deal with, right? We write a command here, or we write a command here, which means that we could, after having projected the device video, when we then have this long wait, we could then end up sending another request for it, which would write an event to the same stream that this is fetched from. So now the expected version would be different when we go to write the result. So it's a timing issue. And I'm surprised it didn't pop up when I was running things, but it didn't. So here we are. I want to try to replicate the error first to make sure it can happen. If we can't make it happen, then we can't make it happen, and that's just what it is. So we'd be in do expensive things once, device video component, like so. And I'm thinking that, so what would need to happen is that the second command comes in while we're fetching, while we're in the 30-second wait. So I think it would be very helpful to put here into the output, put started waiting, or I guess started fetching the video. Like so, that'll just be a visual indicator that we've hit this sleep. And so I'll send the command from the composite component, or to it. I'll kick off a write. Then once we see this, we'll kick off another command to it while it's being fetched. That should enqueue another request for the same video. Sorry, just having to think through that. I better write this out or things are not going to go well. Hang on one second. I'm just going to switch back to there while I close some things down that I had open earlier. Almost there. Trying to grab my streaming work log. There we go. And we're back. So today is Wednesday. Oh my goodness. Wednesday, December 21. And we are investigating a potential flaw in the device video component. Something like that. And what we want to do is start a video downloading. While that's happening, request the same video again. Should result in a new event being written to the video's stream, but after the retrieving handler projected the entity. So when it goes to write its completion event, we'd expect a version mismatch error. In fact, I don't think we need to deal with the composite component for this, because we could just do it all within this component. So we've got our sleep 30 there. And so first thing, we'll need the message store running. So we can do a Docker compose. I think I still have that running over here. Does it matter that it's running? Probably not, because it's message store. It can have different messages in it for different workflows, and that's fine. So I'm not going to start it there. Let's come to our interactive tests, though. And we have a retrieve in here that... Let me not write this message real quick. Let's have a look at what we're actually going to write. So root... Good job spelling there. That's what happens when your hand is slightly to the left of the home position on the keyboard. So Ruby test interactive write retrieve. What's our output? So the device ID, blah, blah, blah. And there's supposed to be a workflow on here. Does that not get set? That'd be kind of strange. Events. No, it would be command retrieve. Oh, right. That comes, we set that in the metadata, don't we? Okay. So sorry, just checking a message on the stream. That's totally the right time to do that. All right, so let's see here. If I remember how this works, because again, it's been more than 6 minutes, there is a workflow indeed. We are grabbing that from the correlation stream name. So we would need a different workflow to go in and handle this. So let's close you. And instead of modifying this test file, let's make a different one, because it's good to have a test that just writes a single retrieve. We'll make a copy here that is, I don't know, trigger expected version error. That's what we're trying to do. So we made a copy of it. Great. Same starting point. And excuse me. It's been less than 6 minutes and I don't remember device video ID, device ID start minute. We want those to be the same. So this control is fine. So let's do a retrieve one on here. And we would need to say retrieve one.metadata.correlation stream name is equal to workflow one. That stream name will be the same for both commands that we're going to write. So we'll just use that one. Why not? And Then, so we want another one of these, retrieve 2. And you would be workflow 2. And then we need to write both of these. Like so, but we need some time to pass because we'll need to write the first one. Just put a 10-second sleep in there. Write the first one. 10 seconds should be plenty of time for, like, plenty of time for the component to pick up the command, start processing it, and get to this point and start the 30-second sleep. So let's put the 30 seconds in there. And then if we put a sleep 10 in there, while we're sleeping, the component will be running and trying to get to that point. So what I would expect to see is we will get some log output. We're going to have 2 consoles running. The first will be running the component here. So script start to turn that on. Great. And then over here, we'll run test interactive, trigger expected version warning, or just error warning. That's what it's called. All right, so what I would expect to see is we'll see the little bit of log output here over on the right that it puts out whenever we call messaging Postgres write from an interactive test. The interactive init sets a few environment variables that controls the logging that we would see. That's fine. Then over here on the left, I expect to see started fetching the video, sleeping for 30 seconds, and then it will start the sleep. Sorry, let me get my face off the camera because there are things that happen when you're sick that you just don't want to broadcast to the world. So, right. Okay. So we'll see the started fetching the video, sleeping for 30 seconds. And then 10 seconds after we saw the first log output, we'll see more log output for the second message. And then just for giggles, I'm going to put right here, finished fetching the video, probably going to crash. This is what I think is going to happen. All right, that's running. Here we go. Kicked it off. There's our log output. Started fetching the video. Sleeping for 30 seconds is there. And maybe another 5 seconds over here on the right, we should see a notice of the second write occurring. Test completed. Now, maybe in another 15 seconds from now, if I'm gauging how long I've been talking for correctly, I expect to see finish fetching the video followed by the component crashing with an expected version error. 30 seconds may have been a bit much. There we go. Sure enough, wrong expected version. Yes, there is a problem with the design. That's a bummer because now we're going to try to fix it. And got some ideas as I was musing. One, is this a problem? Yeah, it is. We just demonstrated that. But I was thinking, well, how would I fix it if it is a problem? And the friend I was talking with about this issue that he was facing suggested something. And so I like the direction of that. We're going to run with it. Okay. So just to recap, the problem is because in our handler, the events handler here, wonder if do I have the event model for this handy? 1 second. I'm going to see if I can load up the event model for this. And to do that, I am not going to show my browser. So let's grab this real quick, and it's in Lucid Chart. Getting there. Oh no, I didn't put it in Lucid Chart, did I? It's in draw.io, is that right? Oh, I'm not sure where I put it. Maybe I put it in one of the readmes. I did not. Fantastic. So let me try to find this. The event model would be really helpful for this. So let's see here. How do you search in your, oh, there it is. Diagrams.net. Network transmission. Does it get lost? Right. Let's see. Costly operations. Here we go. This is the one. Got it. Okay, we can switch back to the computer screen here. Down here is where the issue happens. So consumers run on their own cadence. And when we get the retrieve command, that handler writes a requested event into the stream. And while it is, so that it handles the requested event by going and fetching the video that was asked for. And it is in this handling that we put that 30-second sleep. Not the way that maybe this should have been depicted here time-wise is that this retrieve command lands in the message store at about this point in time. And it's requested. I'm going to undo all this because this looks horrible right now. Gets written to this same stream while the fetching is happening. But the handler in question is this one right here. It did its fetch and so got the excuse me, the current version of the entity up here. And then while it's doing all of this, someone else came in and wrote to the stream. So it's really important that the database threw an error here, because what it's saying is when you're writing to the stream like this with the expected version, what you're saying is I'm writing to this stream and my decision to do so is based on the assumption that the expected version matches what I'm passing to you. And that's no longer the expected version. So something changed. Someone pulled the carpet out from underneath you. Someone took the cheese out of the trap. And now is your assumption still valid? That's the question we're trying to ask here. Excuse me. The important thing, it's not that we get the wrong result per se, because in an operational scenario, we would just crash. And that requested event that we had before would be there, and we'd rerun this particular handler and it would project and get the updated one. So it's possible that we could just put a big old try around all this and do it again, case depending, right? I mean, that's a pretty heavy hammer to wield. We could not write it with the expected version. I would not recommend that. But I want to figure out, is there some way we can change the stream names, like use different streams somehow to not end up with this same result? So the idea that we were floating around was, can there be a unique stream for the fetching that's different from where so like each request coming in, we can do compound identifiers is what I'm saying. So, excuse me. I may cut this off. Oh man. This is the real deal. When you show up to the Practical Microservices stream, you get real life happening right here. Anyway, you can do compound stream identifiers. And so I always use 1, 2, 3 and ABC as stand-ins for UIDs when I'm hand typing identifiers. So pretend that 1, 2, 3 is the device video ID, which is itself a compound ID already. 1 second again, sorry. Oh, good to see that I actually do make it far enough off the screen. Anyway, these device video IDs are already of the form device ID plus the start minute, I think is what it is. Yeah, it's device ID plus start minute. And that's where we've been queuing up the requests. So is it possible to use another stream here that's like the workflow in question is what I'm thinking. So would that help? What would that do? When we project a stream, we project based on the full ID. No, I actually don't think this is going to work because so the idea is that what would we write here? This is where I'm going to say, so what are we consuming? We consume based on the category. Let me make another one of these real quick. These streams are all in the same category. On the edge of your seat. Hey, West Northern, thanks for joining. Hopefully we can get through this and find a workable solution. It would not be the first time on the stream that we did not during the course of 1 hour, but hopefully we get there today. So let's see here. So device component is our category. These streams are all in the same category. So our consumer on these, where is it? Here. We'll find all of them. Sorry, that's not. This is where it's in the start file. I always go to the consumer file first, but it's actually in the start file where you see the consumer that's being consumed. No, the consumer is not being consumed. Which category the consumers are consuming? All right, so here the events consumer is on the device video. Sorry, 1 second. Oh my dear goodness. Typing so hard. Hey, you bet. This is an interesting topic. I don't like having a flaw in my components, especially when I present them as like, hey, these are examples of how to do something. I want them to be correct. Don't want to give bad advice. And also, sorry. This should be a oh my dear goodness. Typing so hard. There we go. All right. These streams are all in the same category. So the events in all of these streams will get picked up by the same consumer. From the message store's viewpoint, the fact that these two have an extra segment in the compound identifier, this doesn't matter. It's just a different one. All it looks at is that category. So this would work in that, let's go back to the event model here. It will pick up all of these events as a consumer. And that's good. But where I think we'll run into an issue with trying to do it this way is, let's close the start file here in the consumer. When we actually do the fetching, we're fetching based on the device video ID, which is that compound identifier. We have those together and concatenated it as a property on the message. The store takes whatever we pass as the identifier and concatenates it with the category that the store is looking for. And so what am I trying to say? Right. If we have some of the events for this retrieval in this stream, this will be the device video ID that we're getting from the messages that we're working with. And so when we go to fetch, we'll be fetching this stream, not this one. The message store doesn't know how to say effectively for every bit of fetching you do, make sure this is part of the stream name, and we just want to tack on a different workflow. West Northern, you say that the expected version check worked, highlighting the bad design. Yeah, me too. In talking about this yesterday, I suspect, West Northern, that you're one of the people I was talking to about this yesterday, because of the details you're putting in your chat messages. So linking Twitch usernames to real life people here. Right. Yeah. Reproducing the error is step one for being able to find it. So yeah. So if events are going into these different streams, then when we go to fetch, we won't see the requests for it. This thing operating, going back to the event model, is based on it being able to find all of these events. So, excuse me, when we handle the requested and fetch the clip in question and write the fetched event, we then handle the fetched event. And the way we handle that is by projecting all of the messages in the entity stream and writing a retrieved for each request that we have now fulfilled effectively. And those were actually for different workflows, so that wouldn't have proven anything anyway. Oh, I did write it correctly. Yeah, this one perfectly illustrates what the problem is. When this one gets handled, it projects the stream. A different event to there gets written, and then we write the fetch, but the expected version fails on there. I guess I just never ran this scenario, or I didn't have a big enough delay on the fetch to uncover it. So what do we do? What do we do? So there's like two things to think through here. There is the specifics of this case, and then there is trying to figure out, is there a general concept we can take from it? In the specifics of this case, what are the kinds of messages that could cause the expected version check to fail? Like, so what are the other events that might be written? In this case, it was another requested, just meaning, hey, now someone else has also requested this video. And what I want to avoid is any sort of a solution that's like, go back and query all of the events to see if like they matter or accepting them would be difficult. I don't want to get into like, oh, what's the next event after the version that I just had, to see if this is one that I could safely ignore. But anyway, in this case, so if I'm handling requested and something else gets written to the stream, it could be, I don't think it could be a fetched, because these get handled one after the other. They can obviously be written in this strange order, but they can be they only get handled one after the other. There is only one there's two things, two consumers here are writing to this stream, but there's only one consumer consuming it, and that is our events consumer. So if I get a requested and some other event gets written there, I mean, there could be an error. Someone could have introduced some new kind of event. Maybe we at some point allow cancellation of a workflow, but it could have been a requested. Could it have been a retrieved? I don't think so, because the only thing that can produce a retrieved is a requested handler. Let's verify that real quick. No, I'm sorry. No, that's right. Yeah. The requested handler, that's the one that we're in. If the video has already been fetched, then we write a retrieved. If it has not been fetched, that's where we fetch it and write a fetched. So if I'm handling a request and taking a long time and something else got written, it couldn't have been a retrieved because I wouldn't have started fetching it. And again, the event consumer is the only thing that can produce retrieved events as well. So in this particular component case, the only reason, barring concurrent running of the component, both of them trying to do the same thing, or errors where we just haven't accounted for certain events. As it's written right now, the only kind of event that I think is possible to have appear is a request for the same video. If that's the case, then the expected version error is meaningless. Like, that's not a problem. We'd expect to see it. I don't feel comfortable saying that in a general case like this, though, because what that could mean, like funds transfer component could have the same issue, I think. No, it couldn't. Or could it? No, it couldn't. Because in the funds transfer component, hey, I actually have visuals for this now. Should I show Lucid Chart? Hang on a sec. I'm going to switch screens here. I actually made these for my email list. Let me just pull that up real quick. Back to this screen. Because the difference here is that our one stream represents more than one activity. It's what got referred to as a scatter-gather kind of an operation. Whereas funds transfer, there is only one funds transfer. No one would ever send a transfer that would result in another initiated event. That's just not the way it works. So no, funds transfer can't have this excuse me, same issue. It is because we can get additional requests for the same video. Would it make sense to project later? Because when we're in the context of this handler, well, we can't project later, but we can reproject. Sorry. Face today, it's runny. We project all the way up here because we have to know from an idempotent standpoint, have we done this operation before? Or which state are we in? Has it been fetched? Has it not been fetched? Excuse me. Sorry. This is the dedication to the craft. This problem is really interesting to me. So we haven't been fetched. We know we needed to fetch it. Now we have all this long delay. I'm just going to type something, and I'm not going to say it's a good thing to do, but just doing it here. If we fetched again, then we'd be all good. But what I don't like about here is, like, as a general rule, if the expected version changed, then like, hey, we don't want to just proceed with that. Or maybe in some special cases like this one, it doesn't matter, but it's optimistic concurrency checking. And so if you've ever done any MVC frameworks, Rails does this quite nicely. You can include, I forget the specifics of how to make it happen, but if you have you end up having a version column in whatever the table is, and when you load the page, it populates that version into a hidden field, I believe. You submit your change. Well, if someone over here had submitted a change for the same row, now that version has been incremented and your submitted version doesn't match anymore. This is the exact same thing. It's an optimistic concurrency failure. Uh-oh. I think somebody just is trying to cold text me to sell me something. That's neat. It doesn't happen very often, but oh, what am I trying to say here? Right. So a version mismatch could mean bad things. In our component, it could only mean that someone else requested it. It's a request for the same video. And what we want to have happen is it just right. that fetched event, and then handle it, and then deal with whatever requests have come in. I want something that is better than just ignoring the error. Maybe the right thing here is because in our handler, we have two cases. Either it has been fetched or it hasn't. If we're down in this block, we know it has not been fetched. So it's really important that this event be written. Suppose we did, upon encountering the expected version error, reproject. We know from the design of this particular component that the only event that could trigger this is another requested, because there's nothing else consuming this stream. So the events in the event stream, you don't have two consumers reading from there. That's good. You would never have two consumers consuming the same category and the same component. That would make no sense, according to my best understanding. Who knows? Maybe there's some case out there where that's a good thing. So if we just take that out, now we're not protected against concurrency. So if we accidentally had two instances of our component running, seeing the two events, I think that's sloppy. In this particular component, it probably wouldn't make much of a difference practically. Excuse me, but like in the account component, that could lead to double deposits. We don't want that to happen. So I'm thinking like if we had some sort of a, I'm just going to say begin here. Rather, I don't think the try, what do I mean by the try? If we open event tied real quick, sorry for the very jarring jump of the screen there. That's not normally how I like to do that. In the account component, when it's handling the command here where it writes to the reservation stream down here in deposit, this try right here, when we are writing to the reservation stream, we very much expect to get expected version errors all the time. All the time might be a bit strong, but there is absolutely nothing weird about this. It just means, hey, cool, someone else has written it. Because of the reservation pattern, do I have a visual for this? Sorry, give me another second while I try to find if I've got a visual for it. I think they help. So it would be in test browser and wait, where'd the history go? Excuse me. Show full history. Reservation pattern. Got slides for it. I thought I just had a drawing. Whatever. I'll just pull up this old jalopy of a presentation here. Right. So let's see. This is a visual of the reservation pattern with the account component. So the first command comes in and it will have written to the reservation stream. When the additional command messages but for the same deposit come in, they'll try to write to there as well, in which case we're just like, hey, that's cool, fine, someone beat us to it, we don't actually need to do anything here. Okay, so that is why in the code, did I remember? I did. Okay, good. They just wrap this call. So if you get this particular error, whatever, fine, move on, we're good. That is not what we want to do, because this message that we're writing, if we did that and we were like, trying to not cough again, I don't remember the particular class and I'm not going to switch back to the other one. If we get one of those, and I think it would be try dot, like so. Oh, I am going to switch back to it. Yes. Okay. Let's just learn how to use our computer first, and then come back here. Let's drop that in. If we did that, we would not end up actually writing this event. And the whole rest of the workflow depends on writing that event. And we would like to not fetch the video more than once, because that's what we're writing here. We're writing that the video was fetched. I'm starting to wonder if in this particular example, we should just drop the expected version thing. Like, we have to record that. The downside to it is you could end up writing it twice. Like, is there some way to know that, excuse me, that we fetched it? That message is the only way that we know that we fetched it. I was thinking, like, if we had this on a local file system, we could just stash the video somewhere on the local file system. And then when we spring to life, before we go to actually retrieve it from the distant storage, do we have it on the local file system? Oh, cool. I guess something happened between now and when we tried to write the event. We could do that. The way this is coded, it would work because I do store it on the local file system. But in a deployed scenario, you may not have a stable file system. Maybe that's something you would just do if you're hosting a component that does this. Like with Kubernetes, you could use a stateful set. With something like Fargate, I'm not very familiar with Fargate, but I got to figure there's some way to get durable storage with it. I tend to operate under the assumption that we're running in a container and that we don't get to persist our local files across reboots of the whatever we're running in the container. But if we're dealing explicitly with returning files or retrieving files and pushing them around places, maybe it calls for different infrastructure than other components. If we had that, like if we had such a thing, I would probably put it behind this function here. Function. Look at me talking like a procedural programmer. Method, actually. It's a method called call that exists on this fetch instance here. Sorry, I need to go off camera again just real quick. Oh, man. Okay, so if we had that and it was hidden behind this method here, call fetch, and fetch is like, do I have it locally? Cool, here it is. Do I not have it locally? Okay, I'll go grab it. Then we still need to get this written. So if the component did crash and it came back to life, our first requested would get picked up again. Then when it goes to do the fetch, it would be like, sorry, there's two fetches here. There's the projection fetch, this one from the entity store, and then I happened to name the thing that retrieves the file the same thing. I mean, this one, when this handling the same message comes back to life, we'll flow through here. We'll notice the fetch hasn't been written yet, so we flow through to this one. This line then happens a lot faster. But there's still the chance that like there's this little teeny tiny window between when all of this occurs. Like, let's suppose that this was really fast. It's still an actual amount of time that another request could come in right at that point, at which point we'd crash again and try again. So if you had like enough requests coming in at just the right moment, this workflow would just keep crashing there. But what's the likelihood of that? It seems pretty low. I don't know like the right answer here. There's just trade-offs. Even if we went with this, like have some durable storage to store the file locally before we go to write the message. Like from a correctness standpoint, I think it's fine. Like if for some reason that file got deleted, we'd just fetch it again. So that's the one approach, is just let it crash and let it retrieve it again. And we could do some infrastructure things to make the second retrieval faster by storing the file in somewhere durable across restarts of the component, which again is how this local one is coded. When you retrieve something, there's this video data here. Nope, that is the source files. Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't actually copy these over. This is just like the ether where the files are stored. I think that's all fetch is doing. Yeah, then it just, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? So this is kind of what it would look like. We would just write the file here. For this component to be coded the way that I'm thinking, we would need to make a copy of the file and put it in a temporary storage location. This directory is serving as the remote devices. But yeah, if we change this to be like, okay, copy it from the remote device location to a temporary storage, boom, we crash. When we pop back in here, we would just check that temporary storage. We would see that the file is there locally. Cool, we've already retrieved it, move right along, do it a whole lot faster because we don't actually have to go out to the device and get it anymore. So we do something like up top here that's like check to see if we already have it. That's an option. Could we still just continually have crashes because in the milliseconds between this fetch and all of this, yeah, it's possible. It's possible that we could just never hit completion. But again, like that just seems really unlikely. The timing on that would just be otherworldly. That's one option. I want to kind of record these. So let's see here. Could use infrastructure to to save file to local file system and persist it across restarts. We could ignore or not use the expected version option. I mean, we can do that. Will lead to duplicate messages if we ever run two instances on the same workloads. When you scale components horizontally, there is in your consumer start or component start, there's a couple of things you put in here that's like group size 3 and then group member. This would have to probably come from an environment variable. I've done a demo of this with stateful sets in Kubernetes before. That would make for an awesome YouTube video actually. But so you somehow you get fed in the size of the group and which particular member of that group you are. And then there's also, if you do it this way, you would in all seriousness need to use the identifier thing here. And that identifier would, if you would want it to include this combination here. That way, if you ever resized the group, your position streams would go to a new place, reflecting the new group size. Or if, well, I guess that's what it is. If you change the group size, it would change what your position should be. And what then happens is MessageDB takes a hash of the stream name, mods it by the group size, and if the result matches your group member, you get those messages. If you were to run two components without having that in there, both components would be trying to handle literally the same messages. And that's not what we want when we're scaling. I mean, you may want that for like incredibly fast, hot swap over in the event of a failure. You could do that. And you just have one component that's continually hitting expected version errors. It might not necessarily be the same one. But if we just didn't use the expected version parameter, if we ever accidentally got two instances of the component running that were not using the group size group member, and that could happen because of infrastructure, that could happen because we make a mistake. you'd get duplicate fetched messages. And if you had duplicate fetched messages in this example, it's probably not a big deal. It looks sloppy. That's really the only thing it's offending me on. If you have two running the same workloads, they're both going to fetch the video. There's no way around that. So even with the expected version check, if you have two working the same streams, you're going to do the fetching twice. There's no, you can't help that. Question is, do you record it twice? So that's an option. There was a third one in my mind and I just forgot what it was. Right. Is there something... here, let me do this. Possible solutions. Like so. Is there something we could do in the command handler? Something different we could do in the command handler in the way that it writes? I don't think that's likely, but who knows? Let me undo all the changes there, close that. I will undo all the changes in there because, yep. Well, actually, no, I want to keep that because I will do a solution at some point and put it in there. Let's look at the, let's close the file though. I didn't want to close the file if it had changes in it, but you know what, Ethan, that's what source control is for. So in our retrieve here, we'll fetch the entity and we see if the video has been fetched. If it is, we immediately write the retrieved. I don't see that there's any way, because we don't have any sort of a message indicating that we have started fetching it. I don't think we would want that. And even if we had it, this one still needs to record the request or proceed directly to the retrieved. I don't think that there's any way that it can just like sit on these. Well, hang on a second. Every requested will be written from this handler. What if they all went to the same different stream? In the original thing we were looking at, it was coming out like this so that there would be, and maybe a friend I was talking to about this yesterday whose anonymity I'm trying to preserve right now unless you say otherwise. I understood what you were saying as a separate stream for every request for it, but what if there was just like a request stream? That could lead... Okay, if we have a separate request stream and we put all of the requests into there, same category, they still get handled in order. So we get the first request, we start fetching it. Second request goes to this stream instead of that one. So this is the one that we actually fetched. This is where requests are piling up. Great. When we do the fetch here, oh man, finding something right at the end that's working. I need to get back to my day job, but okay. I'm going to leave it at this. We're going to revisit this tomorrow and probably code up what's going through my mind right now. But here's the general flow I'm thinking. We get the retrieve. We fetch it from the standard stream, which is where the, don't remember the event. The fetched. Should have been obvious, was it? The fetched event. Fetched event is going to go there. So we check to see if it has been fetched. it hasn't been fetched, if it has been fetched, we immediately write the retrieve. We're good. We can move on. If it hasn't been fetched, and it could have been fetched, but the fetched event just hasn't been written yet. So we could be in the middle of that handler that fetches it. It's already got the file, just hasn't had the chance to write the fetched event yet. Doesn't matter. We're going to write a requested event. If all of those requests, okay, sorry. Let me start over. We do the fetch against the original identifier. If we see that it has been fetched, cool, we write our retrieve, we move on, we're done. If it hasn't been, we don't want to write duplicate requests, right? We still want to be idempotent here, but what if now our new device video ID was equal to our old device video ID, but we add requests onto it? So reproject, but this time we're only projecting the requests. They may be thinking, why not just use a different category for this? Maybe it should be a reservation stream. Would that help anything? No, because we'd still have a different consumer interfering with the event one. Anyway, let me just finish a thought before I abandon it and go on with a new one. This I actually I think might have some merit. So we know it hasn't been fetched. So now our question is not video, have you been fetched? Our question is, have we requested this video already for this workflow? If all of those live in this other stream, then when we write the request, our stream name would be the new device video ID, and we would write the requests to there. Now this plus requests stream is still in the same category. So when we dump our first request there, the event consumer is still going to pick it up. We would just have to do some finagling with the ID, because when we get to this one, we want to make sure we're projecting off the original event stream to see, because again, it's checking to see if it's been fetched. Both the command handler and the event handler are checking to see if it's fetched, because we don't want to fetch it twice. In fact, that's the whole point of these demo projects. So if you have been fetched, have we already notified the requester that it's been retrieved? No, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, bail out. Then we come down to this case where, no, we haven't fetched it yet. This write would go to the original entity stream. I don't know if any of that made sense. By my count, there are 2 people watching this stream who are not me right now. So if you are the 2 people that I think you are, you know how to contact me out of band. And honestly, like anyone, suppose you're not those 2 people. My Twitch obviously my Twitch information is on Twitch, but my Twitter handle is there in the lower right. Always feel free to reach out and ask questions. Anyway, I hope this is making sense. It is in my head, and it's something that I think we could code tomorrow and make some changes with it. I don't know that it's going to be a good idea, though. I'd like to get the solution coded out and then think through it some more. But I think that could work. So if it's really important that it be in the same category, because we still need all of these events to be handled in order by the component. But so we can't change the category. So I don't think it would work to have a separate category where all the requests go. Why do I not think that? Because it would take a new consumer. It would start consuming the other category, see all of these requests. Well, what does it do? Or maybe that would work, actually. Oh my goodness. There's a fourth thing. If we introduced another category that only did the... No, because now we're with this whole same problem we're trying to solve here. So if I'm the request... It's too late. I'm not going to like half bake what I'm thinking with that one. I need to get back to my job, but I will take a note of it in my work log, and it's another thing that we can revisit. I hope this... Okay, cool. I thought as much. Same solution, which is awesome. Yeah, that's... If you guys are independently coming to the same thing, either we're both making the same misunderstandings there, or it's a useful solution to the problem. What's the first month of the year called? January is when we'll resume the meetup. So I'm thinking this will be the topic in January, is examining this. And I'm really hoping that some folks with more... I like that. Great minds think alike, but so do ours. I like that. I'm probably going to steal that phrasing of that at some point. But anyway, we can talk about these components again in January with these different solutions. And we'll see what other folks in the community think about the solution. There's a part of it that feels a little off, but another part that's like, that's kind of cool how that could work. Yeah, anyway, hey, West Northern and other person who didn't chat. Thanks for coming today. And see you guys later. And to everyone else, have a wonderful day. And as always, happy coding.